UFC 251 Fight Island is over, and I've done a video about who I thought were the winners and losers on Saturday night. I want to focus on the main event today with this video with Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. I don't have a lot of good things to say about the main event. I found it rather boring, and I kind of have taken a little bit of exception to the way that it was won. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a very big Kamaru Usman fan. I do enjoy Masvidal, his fights, his personality, so maybe I'm just a little biased. Maybe I'm being a bit of a sore loser. But I want to talk about what I don't appreciate about that fight. There were some exciting parts, but the majority of the fight was up against the cage, in the clinch, and that's what I want to talk about. The three effective maneuvers that he had throughout the whole fight, and they all occurred in the clinch up against the cage. It wasn't a very high percentage of successful takedown attempts. He did get him down a few times, and when he was there, I guess he did a little bit more damage, but on the cage, it was just minimal. In fact, I felt like Usman really only had one effective maneuver. Well, he had three effective maneuvers, three of them, but only one of them I feel was a legit maneuver, and that was those shoulder strikes he kept hitting them with in the clinch against the cage. He was hitting Masvidal a lot with those shoulder strikes. I'm not sure how effective they were, but Masvidal's head was snapping back. If nothing else, I'm sure they were frustrating and fatiguing, but they appeared to do a little bit of damage too. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with this technique. I do with the other two. So for my money, the only thing that Kamaru did that was effective and damaging his opponent through that whole fight was short shoulder strikes in the clinch. And when we're going to put a belt contingent on this, I just want to see more. I just want to see more. I feel like it's a cheap way out. So his second effective strike was the foot stomps. I remember years ago, 15 years ago or so, when I first started watching MMA and UFC, I'd see these foot stomps, I just cringe and think, oh man, that's terrible. It's got to be so damaging. But as I get to learn more about this sport, about this game, which it is a sport in the game, there are rules, and there's ways to exploit the rules a little bit. And the more I watch it, the more I think that foot stomps are that. It's an exploitation of the rules. Even though it's a game, it is a game that's kind of made to mimic a real-life fight, a real-life street fight, a real-life fight to the death, if you want to be corny about it. And I just don't think that people are going to be, you're not going to be barefoot if you get into the alley scrap. You're going to have your shoes on, and these foot stomps just aren't going to do nearly as much damage. But I don't like it. I don't like foot stomps. I kind of see it as a cheap way out, cheap move. But Usman did a bunch of them. He was constantly stomping Masvidal's feet to the point that it was one of his most effective weapons. And like I said, I just don't agree with it. So you're the champion. You should do more than shoulder strikes and foot stomps. And number three was he kept headbutting him. Or head clashes, I should say. He wasn't headbutting him. He wasn't grabbing Masvidal by the shoulders, just burying his forehead into his. And you see a lot of this from people who don't have that technically tight stand-up. They're kind of throwing their head in, following it with their punches, and the heads oftentimes clash. That was where Masvidal seemed to wear the most damage from those head clashes, and they were all initiated by Usman. And I'm not saying that Kamaru did it on purpose. I doubt that he's swinging a punch hoping to connect with his head first. But it doesn't matter if it's on purpose or not, does it? I've only seen a few kicks to the groin that I thought were on purpose. Most of these illegal shots, whether a low blow to the back of the head, eye poke, they're accidental, and we all understand that. But you do it too many times, you start to affect the trajectory of the fight, and you get points deducted, possibly even called off. And I would like to see that with these headbutts. I felt like it happened too many times, too consistently, that there should have been a point deducted, or he should have at least been warned. He was never even warned about this. It's hard to stand up and fight him because he's such a talented wrestler, and he's always going to be looking to take you down. So when you're standing up, you're trying to keep your distance from him. And then he starts swinging his head around at you, every time every time he's about to throw a punch, and his head is connecting more often than his hands are, and they're doing more damage. I feel like this is something that needs to be addressed. Man, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. I thought that those two types of strikes, the foot stomps and the headbutts, it's just not befitting of a champion. It's not befitting of a professional fighter. It kind of makes me sick. I hate to see it. I want to see it stopped, and I think it's time that we stop it.